Hello， 大家好，欢迎回到外媒看中国，我是安博然。The media in Australia has been going crazy over the past 2 days after Defence Minister Richard Marles accused China of firing flares at an Australian military helicopter over the weekend. That sounds terrifying, right? So I wonder where that poor helicopter was affronted. Maybe off the coast of Sydney or in the waters off Perth? Well, no. The Aussie military aircraft was flying just a few hundred kilometres away from Beijing, actually way up here in the Yellow Sea, nearly 10,000 kilometres away from Canberra. Why on earth would they be there? Well, today we will investigate. This is Reports on China. I'm Andy Boreham in Shanghai. Let's get reporting. Australia's mainstream media has been in a feeding frenzy these last few days after the country's government claimed that a PLA jet fired flares at one of their military helicopters last Saturday. The dramatic story came as breaking news on that country's 9 news network. Let's take a quick look at what the Aussies had to say.
We're going to breaking news now. A Chinese warplane has fired flares at an Australian helicopter, and Defence Minister Richard Marles has just hit back, labelling the encounter unsafe and unprofessional.
HMAS Hobart has been playing Australia's part in preventing North Korea smuggle sanctioned goods across the high seas. But on Saturday night, there was near disaster as a Navy Seahawk helicopter conducted routine operations in international waters. The Seahawk was intercepted by a Chinese J-10 Air Force jet.
The PLA Air Force plane dropped flares about 300 metres in front of the Seahawk helicopter and about 60 metres above it.
Only quick reflexes by the Australian pilot averted disaster.
Minister, I've been told that this was so serious it almost took one of our choppers out of the sky.
This was an incident which was both unsafe and unprofessional.
Wow, sounds serious. But what is not stressed in that report and all of the subsequent news coverage is that, 1, the incident took place just hundreds of kilometres away from China's capital, Beijing, in the Yellow Sea, much of which is made up by China's EEZ, or Exclusive Economic Zone. For context, check out the distance from Australia's capital, Canberra, on a map. That's 8,535 kilometres in a straight line. 2, that military aircraft releasing flares during an interception manoeuvre is not only fairly common, it's even endorsed by the FAA. Australia's Defence Minister called the interception by China's PLA unsafe and unprofessional. But that does not line up at all with what the Federal Aviation Authority says. And number 3, Australian media keep mentioning the term international waters, which is specifically designed to confuse the audience, since that term is not an official legal term and makes it sound like anyone has the right to be there. To the contrary, the area of the Red Sea where the incident is thought to have taken place consists of large areas of China's EEZ, which runs 200 nautical miles, or about 370 kilometres, off China's eastern coast. In fact, it's impossible to approach North Korea, which the Australian military claimed was the reason for being in the area, without passing through China's exclusive economic zone. According to the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, foreign nations can normally enter exclusive economic zones under the right of innocent passage, except that's not the case with China and 17 other nations who have made it widely known that military aircraft are not welcome to enter their EEZs without prior permission. It's also well known internationally that China is known to take action when that area is breached by foreign military aircraft, something Australia's Defence Minister will be well aware of. So I can only conclude then that Australia's military decided to approach and or enter Chinese airspace despite the knowledge that they were unwelcome and that action may be taken. Australia's Prime Minister Albanese, forced by a population whipped into a frenzy by his own country's dramatic and scaremongering media, said that Beijing's actions were completely unacceptable. In an attempt to appear strong, he told 9 News, "They're in international waters, international airspace. We've just made it very clear to China that this is unprofessional and that it's unacceptable." Again, he's using that term international waters, even though they're not official legal terms and basically mean nothing in this context. Australia's opposition leader, Peter Dutton, urged Albanese to do more. He wrote a Twitter post saying, "A Chinese fighter jet has dropped flares in front of an Australian Navy helicopter in a dangerous mid-air confrontation. This was a provocative and unnecessary act. The Prime Minister should pick up the phone to President Xi and express Australia's deep concern at these actions." So, of course, I just had to come in and ratio him with this reply. I said, "Bloody oath, how scary. Where did this flare incident happen? Off the coast of Sydney? Brisbane? In the waters off Perth? Oh wait, what's this? That map doesn't look like Australia or anywhere near Australia. Now, in case you don't know what ratioing someone on Twitter means, it's when your reply to their tweet gains much more support than their original tweet. Dutton has about 900 likes, while my reply is more than double that. Sometimes you just have to have a bit of fun. China's Foreign Ministry spokesperson Lin Jian shone some light on the incident last night with this short statement. An Australian military aircraft deliberately flew within close range of China's airspace in a provocative move that endangered China's maritime and air security in the name of enforcing UN's Security Council's regulations. The Chinese military took necessary measures at the scene to warn and alert the Australian side. The way the situation was handled was consistent with our laws and regulations, professional and safe. China has lodged serious protests to the Australian side on its risky moves. We urge Australia to immediately stop the provocations and hype to prevent misunderstanding and miscalculation. And there you have it. Australia's military were flying a little too close to Chinese territory, already some 8,500 kilometres from home, and were warned by the PLA in a standard interception manoeuvre that safely and effectively conveyed to the Australian side that they were not welcome and that they needed to change course immediately. Nothing more to it. Many Australian netizens also questioned their government for causing trouble so far away from home. Colin J. Ely wrote, "What was our helicopter doing there? If you want to play big boys games, you have to be prepared to play by big boys rules. Stop being a lapdog for the US." Rebecca added, "So you burn Australian taxpayers' money on this field trip far, far away from home for what?" George Simmons said, "Australians don't want your US-sponsored war with China." Nicely put. So what do you guys think? Should Australia be flying its military aircraft so far away from home? Or is it better to be a nice neighbour and not cause trouble? Was China right to release flares to intercept the helicopter? Do let me know down below, and don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.